Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 157. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and joining me is Seyrr. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Hi.
Yeah.
Everyone's emotionally exhausted, but in a good way. There was catharsis. So much catharsis.
There certainly was something. There was Endwalker. And it was like all-consuming for the past, 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
It's been glorious.
I mean, it's still all-consuming for a lot of people. The OCP said they had never seen so many... this is the most that it's ever been congested.
Wow, what's that? Just kidding.
I mean, there's kind of a perfect storm of things sending people to it.
Yeah.
I hate the phrase perfect storm, but I don't know what else to describe it as.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It certainly is a thing. But, so this is the last episode of 2021. Just a little show information for you guys. The first episode of 2022 will be January 15th. So set your calendars then. After that, we're going to be on our regular bi-weekly schedule, which will be kind of nice to have.
Yeah.
Also, that January 15th episode will be the spoiler cast for Endwalker, so be warned. You've got plenty of time yet to get through this amazing story. Take your time and enjoy it. Yeah.
The login queues have been getting a little bit shorter, I think, as some people have gotten through and there's less of a crush to get in.
I've been in queue for the last 40 minutes. I started with about 2,400. I'm down to 1071.
See, that's moving way more than it used to.
Yeah, still, if you're over 2,000, you're looking at about 2-hour queue. But this afternoon, it was only 1,000 people in queue.
Oh, all right. What do we got going on in the world?
Just want to start off with a shout out to our Patreon producers. We are now using, we're recognizing people who are contributing at the $10 level and above as our special Patreon producers for Phoenix Down Radio. So shout out to Nick Nar, Aurori, and Tibient. Thank you so much for all your support. And if you want to support us like these amazing folks, you can head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio. What have you been up to since the last episode, Seyrr? We should probably ask those, important questions. Besides playing Endwalker.
Yeah. Library stuff. I did a couple robots programs. It was nice. I got a promotion and I'm going to be full-time and working in a different unit now.
Ooh, special.
Yeah, it's really nice. There will be more library things. There will be a slightly more regular schedule, I might not have Saturday rotation anymore, actually. That would make this easier, too. Sweet, I hadn't even thought of that until just now. I need to check what my new schedule is. Yes, but that'll be starting actually in the new year, so I'll be able to report back at our first episode of how things are going. I'll be working with the Educational and Programming Services Department, so developing library programs for all the branches to use.
Ravenheart, thank you for that resub. 4 months. We really do appreciate it.
Oh, dang.
That's awesome. Aww. Congratulations on the promotion and all that.
Oh, and Raven likes our hats.
Yes. Yay. Well, we figure, it is Starlight, so we got to have the hats.
I wish I had an excuse to wear hats like this all winter. They're so nice and toasty, and everyone's a little more cheerful when they see you in one.
Well, I next time, maybe for the next episode or the first episode of 2022, I should wear my my stocking cap that I have. It's shaped like one of those sock monkeys.
Mm. Yeah,
and it's very warm. So.
Oh, but, hats in general. More hats.
Hats are good. These are a little bright, but hats are good. Anything else fun?
Trying to think, because it's been a while and a lot has happened the last few days.
Yeah, it's been
so
5
I'm just
weeks.
kind of Yeah, I've been kind of zonked from everything.
Yeah. Have a good Thanksgiving, or for people who don't live in the U.S., a good Thursday.
Yes, a very nice American Thanksgiving. It's just me and my parents at this point, so usually we just go to a steakhouse or something like that. And in part to celebrate, because I had just gotten the news about my promotion, I ended up making reservations for a very nice high-end one. It was like to the point where my mom was actually actively nervous about, oh my gosh, I don't know how to eat at one of these places. What if they judge me?
That is absolutely adorable, and I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, yeah. Like they were stressed, they were worried. It's like, no, we're gonna have this, and I'll show you how to order stuff, and we'll have a good time. And it was a really lovely meal.
Sweet.
And we got a chance to just spend time together. I had not actually seen my parents in person since the entire pandemic started, so it was really nice to spend some time with them. Just get it. Just give them a proper hug.
Very nice.
Yeah. Shared, when we went and saw some movies together, shared some other fun stuff, made plans for more TV shows and games to keep sharing over Discord in the new year. It was a really nice time.
You got your folks on Discord?
Yeah.
Wow.
It turns out my mom has been using it for like a while.
Damn.
Yeah, she does like historical recreation, like Society of Creative Anachronists stuff. So I was like, okay, and here's like, okay, you already have a profile set up. And what are you even doing here? Dad needed the walkthrough, but no, my mom was surprisingly adept with it.
Maybe she can show you a thing or two.
We're not quite there. But no, it was the type of thing where it's like, oh, right. Your parents are people in their own right, and sometimes they will surprise you. It was a pleasant surprise.
That's pretty freaking cool, though.
Yeah. How about you? How have you been?
Well, other than playing Endwalker and working a lot, I am a true warrior of light now. The tattoo.
You spent a bunch of money on a completely bullshit weapon that looks really cool?
No, I spent a lot of money on a completely awesome tattoo.
Wait, do Warriors of Light need tattoos? This is the first time hearing of it.
The Legacy Warriors do.
Oh, very nice.
But yeah, so we got that. That was a lot of fun. Healing very well too. It's the first tattoo I've gotten in many years, and long gone are the days where they wrap it in cellophane or paper towel. They actually have clear bandages that they put over the top of it, which is kind of neat.
Oh, nice.
And it really helped to speed up the healing and reduce the scabbing. It's looking really good, feeling really good.
I guess as it's tattooing has become more mainstream, like there's been a lot more, okay, we can actually spend the money on doing stuff properly, and there's research into how to do it right.
Well, it's been pretty, okay in society for quite a while, and
I feel like there was a shift at some point or another.
Yeah, it became a lot more mainstream in the 90s and 2000s, I suppose, but it's just nice to have another tattoo, and I already have my next one lined up. I'm just waiting to hear back from the artist. Other than that, no, that's basically it. It's tattoos and Endwalker and work. That's basically been my the last 5 weeks of my life. But holy crap, was Endwalker amazing!
Yeah.
Oh,
and like you say, just Endwalker, but like that feels like enough to cover.
Yeah. I mean, though, tomorrow I'm going out to brunch with my folks. That'll be kind of nice. In celebration of my birthday, which is next Wednesday, I believe is the date. Let me look. Yes, next Wednesday. So I'm going to be very old. You cut me in half and you count the rings and you'll see how old I am.
I don't think... You know what? Sure.
We'll go with it.
Knock yourself out. It'll make the cutting hurt less.
How am I going to cut it? Oh, never mind. Speaking of birthdays, happy birthday to Final Fantasy.
Oh,
how's
that is going to be a big cake.
It's a huge cake because on this day in 1987, a little game called Final Fantasy was released in Japan on the Famicom.
So that would make it 34 then.
34. But
I feel like that's
December
a milestone of some sort.
is the month of Final Fantasy. Because not only
Oh.
that, Final Fantasy II was released on December 17th, 1988. Final Fantasy Legend for the Game Boy was released on December 15th, 1989. Legend 2.
The rest of the Legend series as well.
In 1990. And Legend 3 in 1991. Final Fantasy V for the Super Famicom was released on December 6th of 1992. So that's a one game every year basically.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list you put together, and we've got like 12 or 13 different games that were released in December of various years. So December does seem to be a really big year for that, or really big month for them.
Yep.
Is that just coincidence? It's hard to believe that's just coincidence.
Like I said, they started out super strong in for December releases for Final Fantasy games. Then if you go back, a lot of the other games came out in September or March, or various release dates, but December seems to be really strong. Also of note, Final Fantasy XIII was released on December 17th, 2009, and Final Fantasy XIII 2, everybody's favorite Pokemon game, was released on December 15th of 2011.
Everyone's favorite Pokemon Chrono Trigger sequel.
True.
I consider that more of a sequel to Chrono Trigger than Chrono Cross.
And then also in the latest release, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker was released on December 7th, 2021.
That one was a little less intentional, but we'll give it to them.
Yeah, that one was supposed to have been in like July or August, but you know what? There was this other thing that happened. And
even then, there was going to be November.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why when I could schedule the tattoo for the day before initial early access, I thought it was like perfect timing. And then, of course, Yoshi P heard about it, and he wanted me to not be like in pain while playing the game.
That is definitely
he gave me 2 extra weeks so I can heal.
You're definitely the main character here, Klauss. That is totally what happened.
I am the Warrior of Light. But speaking of strange things, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin has some new information revealed this week. Let me copy and paste this. A lot of interesting information, that we're learning about the game straight from Square Enix.
Yeah, introduction of several of the characters that we'll be meeting throughout.
Yeah, some of these names are familiar, like Astos. Remember that name?
I believe he was the king of the elves in the original Final Fantasy.
King of the Dark Elves, but yes. Also, they introduced Tiamat. And wow, some of the designs of the characters are quite amazing. The Tiamat one is actually very interesting looking if you take a look at the linked article. And they also introduced a new warrior named Sophia, who holds the same unwavering conviction as Jack and friends, and she ends up joining the group later on. So they showed off some really interesting locations as well, like the Western Keep. That's the home of Astos, the Crystal Mirage, and of course another really familiar place, the Flying Fortress.
Yeah, that Tiamat design is especially interesting. There's a figure embedded in it such that it almost looks like possibly some sort of weird organic mech suit with horse hooves. They're taking a very interesting approach to the multi-headed Tiamat that very different from usual.
I like the interesting that they're skewing off of it on a different design. But
I was also surprised that Sophia looks relatively plain, like she's wearing a very simple dress. Just like the face, her appearance in general, it's so far away from the usual thing you see for female RPG characters in a way that's actually kind of refreshing.
Well, I mean, you got to remember, all of the fashion for the game comes from their job, and the armor for it said job.
Right, but even then, like it kind of feels like, hey, this is not the usual portrayal you would see of a female character in a way that I kind of like. It's getting away from a lot of those stereotypical appearances.
Yeah, it's definitely, they're not sexualizing her at all, so which is nice. It's more of a
Yeah,
just it's a female protagonist, so which is
she's intriguing.
I
She even looks like she might be a little older, which is also unusual.
and this is probably a game that I am, as much as I'm not really into Souls likes, I will still probably order this and get it because it looks quite interesting. I just don't know if I'm gonna go with PS5 or PC yet.
I mean, I usually don't play fighting games, and I tried Dissidia because it had the Final Fantasy name on it. The Final Fantasy name gets us to try a lot of things.
And I didn't hate the demo. It just it wasn't. They had to take out so much stuff that it took away from my enjoyment of it, I suppose. But I think once we get more of the story elements and how this is really a precursor to Final Fantasy and the origin story, so to speak, especially with the name Jack Garland.
Yeah, they've played with some of this a bit in general. Again, when we were talking about Dissidia, they took that original Final Fantasy one story and kind of expanded on setting with a ancient war, a weapons manufacturing thing in an alternate world. Like they took that old story and they kind of decided to expand out that a bit. So this is the first time they've dabbled with taking those familiar ones and giving a fresh set of eyes to them, creating a story that still hits those familiar notes, but something a bit more tuned for a new generation of players.
A little bit different and very different play style from what the standard RPG is going to be. This game is going to be released on, like I said, for the PS5 and PC on March 18th. And if you pre-order, you're going to get up to 3 days early access. So if you're interested, might as well get a pre-order in and support the game and jump into it before everybody else. All right. Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier for Mobile, is now available on iOS and Google Play. Speaking of games that I'm not very good at, i.e. the battle royales. This is one I'm probably not going to play. I tried the beta when it was out, and it was tough to do a battle royale on touch controls. So I think I'm out on it, but I think there's a lot of people who are getting to see a little bit of pre Final Fantasy 4 or Final Fantasy 7. Because this is 30 years prior?
I believe so.
Somewhere in that range. So, I mean, they're getting to hear some familiar names like Shinra and, Midgar and all that stuff. So, if you enjoy
Mobile games live and die off of their interfaces, especially given the relatively small screen you have to work with. So,
though I will say they did take a lot of the feedback that they got from the beta. And I think they did make enough changes to make it a little bit easier to play. I might look at it, but it's not one of those games I'm probably going to stick out with like a Defu or Record Keeper, stuff like that. So
yeah.
But if you enjoy it, go check out the Apple Play Store or Google Play and download it.
If you're a Final Fantasy fan, you are awash in options at this point.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake PC version is now available on the Epic Games Store for PC. And this does include the Yuffie DLC Intergrade as well as the regular story, so it's going to cost you a cool $70. But you get to take advantage of all the DLSS and ray tracing and all that good stuff. So if you got a high-end rig and really want to play Final Fantasy VII on your PC, give it a shot.
I'm a little surprised that they ended up going with the exclusively with the Epic Games Store. I would have thought they wanted to get on as many platforms as possible. I guess they must have offered a really good deal for that.
Well, they also, I don't know if I didn't mention it in the previous story, but the Final Fantasy Origins is also going to be on the Epic Games Store for PC when that's released. I think they might have a deal with them. Like they've got a deal with Sony for console exclusivity for a time. And then I'm assuming that they're going to have a deal with the Epic Store. Epic is putting in a lot of money to get a lot of big developers on their platform.
Yeah, I mean they're going up against some very entrenched platforms, so you got to bring your A game for that, or you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, though I do miss the days when you just install the game. You don't actually have to boot something up and then connect into another set of servers to try and connect into the game, so you then connect into that game's servers.
You want me to rant about digital rights management for about 7 hours?
Yes.
Don't mind if I do.
Yes, DRM is, while
we'll save it for another time.
Yeah, you're probably right.
We will be here all night if you start me on this.
True. All right. And the Final Fantasy XI December update brings the holidays into Vana'diel. So if you're still playing Final Fantasy XI, why? Because Endwalker is amazing.
They can do both.
How? Most people didn't have the time to get through the story of Endwalker.
While you're waiting on the login queues for 14, you play 11.
If you have a second computer, maybe.
Your old PlayStation 2.
You remember it's not working on PlayStation 2 anymore?
Oh, they did finally sunset? I totally forgot that.
A long time ago.
Anyways,
there's a lot of cool stuff available into that.
They've got their Starlight Celebration, just like they were the actual origin for the Starlight Celebration, even if their story behind it's a little different.
I will say that I missed the giant treants.
Oh.
That was actually a lot of fun when you're chasing after these treants in a huge group of everybody on your server trying to kill them. In Final Fantasy XI style.
I just liked wearing a Santa hat to everything. So cute. And like the music and just like the peace.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff going on.
Good memories.
The Final Fantasy XI special site, We Are Vana'diel, has been updated with a variety of new content to provide players with a glimpse into the world of the development of Final Fantasy XI online. So that's kind of nice.
That, of course, has been their ongoing one because of the anniversary celebrations. But a lot of those behind-the-scenes looks, again, of a lot of folks who, for instance, took interest in FF14 when, after the initial disaster, we started getting this really inside look into how MMO development actually works, the considerations, all that. Given how well received that was, a lot more studios are opening up at least part of what they're doing. The game industry is still famously closed-lipped about a lot, but we're getting to see a little bit more of what goes into making the games that we love, and this has been no exception. It's
Thanks,
really
Yoshi
nice.
P.
Yeah, I like Final Fantasy XI itself is it's old enough to vote. It is not yet old enough to drink, but
it's 20 now, is it not?
19.
Well, I thought didn't it come out in Japan before it came out in the US? Or is it's coming up on the 20th anniversry in April, isn't it?
I believe it's coming up on the 20th. It's like 19 and a half.
Yeah, it's still
usually
really
when you're
old.
19, you stop counting half years. That's like a thing when you're 7. But no, there's a lot more chances to see what goes into the making of the games that we love, and this has been no exception.
Absolutely. Speaking of Starlight Celebration, it's currently live in Final Fantasy XIV as well. Have you done it yet?
I have not.
It's kind of cute, actually.
Yeah. After I got through Endwalker, I decided to take a little break and make sure that other people could get onto the server. I'll probably do that in a week or so. We've got ourselves some adorable minions, a wind-up Rudy that looks perhaps like some kind of Yeti, and an adorable Starlight Celebration version of the Nutkin mount.
Minion. It's not a mount.
Minion.
It'd be a little bit hard to ride.
Oh my god, I would totally go for a Nutkin mount.
Only if it's appropriate size, please. We don't want to break its tiny little back.
And a couple housing decorations for your apartment or free company house or personal house if you happen to be lucky enough for that.
Yeah, the Starlight mobiles are actually really kind of cute. But the minions are representative of two of the characters that will play a part in the story. So definitely read through all of the text. It is really cute. And I think you'll enjoy it. So then Yoshi P has responded to server congestion after the Endwalker release. This is from the one from a week ago. He has updated it since, but I'll go ahead and copy this one in there since it's still applicable. As I mentioned in the previous announcement, there are two causes to error 2002, which is the dreaded lobby error. Either when the number of players waiting in queue per logical data center exceeds 17,000. How crazy is that? 17,000 people waiting in queue.
Yeah. That's pretty insane.
And then the other one they mentioned as error 2002 occurrence from issues with the player's internet connection. Now, that one was the one that was a little more dubious and was actually found to be part of a bug from the 1.0 era. So they are
some callbacks there.
Yeah, so they're going through, they went through the code, and as a part of the 6.01 patch that's coming up on Monday and Tuesday, they will be making some changes to that, which will hopefully reduce the number of queue errors when you're trying to sit and wait patiently in your 2,537 person queue. What's the highest queue you've seen so far, Sarah, as you've been trying to log in?
I usually haven't even tried on off peak times.
I did have a queue of over 3,400 once. That was pretty crazy. It was about 2.5 hours, but and I think I had 3 2002 disconnects during that time. But one thing that's nice is if you sign back in within like a couple of minutes, they give a pretty generous window to get back into your place in queue. You'll actually get very close to where you were when you were kicked out. So you're not going back to the end of the line again. And I appreciate that when we're waiting that long. But because of all of these errors, there is game time compensation for the congestion and lobby server errors coming right from Yoshi P. He's taking it out of his personal pocketbook and giving us all an additional 14 days. Isn't that nice? I'm not sure about his own personal pocketbook, of game time, but
yeah,
they're giving everybody 2 extra weeks, and good on them. They didn't have to, but they know how much we love the game. I mean, really love the game. So in order to receive the extra 2 weeks, you have to have a service account that meets the following requirements as of December 21st, 2021 at midnight Pacific time. You have to have registered the full version of Final Fantasy XIV, including, I'm assuming you have to have the latest expansion, but maybe not. And you have to have remaining game time on the 21st. So you can't have an expired subscription. So they're giving us 14 days. If you have a recurring subscription, the subscription date will be extended by 14 days. So like I said, I subscribe at 6 months at a time, save money. So I'll have it added to the end of that time, and it'll push that back. Otherwise, if you pay per month or with time cards, you will have 14 days added to the end of your time before you need to resubscribe. And this also includes if you have any extra retainers. A lot of times the free time doesn't include those, so it's nice to see that they are actually giving us free time with our retainers too. And because Final Fantasy XIV is so popular, the starter and complete digital edition sales have been halted, and free trial has been suspended for now. The digital edition sold out, yo. Again. That's the funny part. This is the second time that they've done this. First time was after the whole WoW Exodus thing happened, and we had all these big name streamers come on to 14.
They also did it back in Realm Reborn, actually.
Okay, so this is the second time this year.
Yes.
I guess I don't recall them doing it back in the ARR days, but I never had to buy it though, because I had the 1.0 edition. But that's pretty crazy. Players are currently experiencing extremely long wait times due to dense concentration of play hours, which far exceed our server capacity, especially during peak times, so we have decided to temporarily suspend the sale and delivery of Final Fantasy XIV Starter and Complete Editions. Additionally, although those with an active subscription are prioritized to log in, free trial players are unable to log in outside of late night and early morning hours. And so it's also suspend new registrations for the free trial. So yeah. If you wanted to get your buddy into this game and have them join you.
I actually had one of my coworkers who was planning to download it, so she's a little disappointed.
Yeah, I had one of my friends at work also was contemplating because they thought Samurai looked really cool when we were doing the Extra Life stream, and wanted to get into the game then. And yeah, unfortunately now they can't. So it is what it is. They need to prioritize those who have been paying just a ton of money for this game. I calculated that I've spent over $3,000 on this game.
I don't know, man. That's on you.
No, I mean, yes, that's including the collector's editions, but I mean, you reduce that by $600, and you're still looking at, almost $2,500 if you've been playing since ARR. That's you too, there, Seyrr. I just think it's kind of funny, but it is what it is. I have no regrets. Like we talked about a little bit in the pre-show, Final Fantasy XIV patch 6.01 is releasing on December 21st. Not only is it going to fix some of these issues we're having with Error 2002s within the game, but it's also going to be bringing us the Pandemonium story raid. So we're going to have the story version of the 8-man raid featuring Pandemonium that was talked about in FanFest and in some of the live letters. I'm looking forward to that. What about you?
There's really not a lot I could say without getting into massive spoilers. So
okay, fair. Yes, it's definitely story related.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Leave it alone.
It looks fun. I am looking forward to it. Yeah, hopefully they'll implement these fixes. We're looking at about an 8-hour downtime starting at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Monday. So please look forward to that. And then in other amazing news, Final Fantasy XIV wins big at the Game Awards. F14 won Best Ongoing Game, beating out Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. And we also won Best Community Support, beating out Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky.
Take that, Fortnite.
Oh, have you seen some of the lashback from that? All these Fortnite.
I haven't.
There was actually somebody posted a tweet that aggregated a number of different tweets from the Fortnite community about how how proud they are of Final Fantasy XIV getting the best online game. Yeah. So yeah, but congratulations to Yoshi P and his team. Actually, those are honors well deserved. This is definitely the year of 14.
Yeah, the one about community support, I think is one that really stands out there, just because of the closeness of how much communication there is between the developers and the community, how strong the community works to support each other, and how supported people feel by the actual game. It's something that I think, again, so many people have cited it as this is a thing that just feels so unusual to them.
But really amazing. So, yeah. Again, congratulations. We joke about great community, by the way, but overall, this is an extremely strong and supportive gaming community, especially coming from the developers themselves. So thank you. With that, let's talk about Endwalker. Let's start with a little bit of a quote-unquote unboxing. I've already unboxed everything from the collector's edition, but if you did not get a chance to pick one up, Now's your chance to see what actually came inside the box. And let's start with the box. So for those of you listening on the podcast, I would recommend you go to YouTube and check out the video, or you can go to twitch.tv/ShootingStarRadio and check out the VOD so you can see all these really cool things.
That's a big box.
Rory, you don't have to walk away. We're not going to talk about spoilers. This is going to be a completely spoiler-free thing. But I just wanted to show off the artwork. It's really, really nice. Got Zodiark and Heidelin. Nope, this is right. It was backwards in the one camera, but right in the other camera. So, but nice logos on it. It is a pretty good sized box. And of course, all of the collector's editions have included a statue. There we go.
Got that Paladin Passage of Arms going.
My only complaint about the figure is it's smaller than last year's. It's about the same size, or I should say smaller than the Storm or the Shadowbringers one. It's about the same size as Stormblood, as the Xenos one. I wish they would keep the sizing consistent, but otherwise good quality. I don't think this is as quite as high quality as like the Shiva or some of those other Meister quality figures that they've been selling, or that came with, that they gave away free with the $200 emote. Some other stuff, they gave a frame that you can put in a number of different art pieces. I like this one from the with all the different characters in it.
Yeah.
And they also
got our Scion buddies.
They seem to do that one for every expansion. They have all the different Scions as they're the way they currently are, and they come with a nice little folder with a whole bunch of additional artwork. They showed off a lot of this in the I'm getting into game finally, but I'll show off a few of these different pictures. Oh, look at that young guy, huh? From 1.0.
We've got our Midlander through the ages and expansions.
And that same artwork from the box. And all the different CE artwork from the other ones, from Shadowbringers, Stormblood, Heaven's Word. And there we have A Realm Reborn. And of course, 1.0. So you can switch those out as you see fit into the frame, or maybe get additional frames to show them all off. We of course get the cute little Loporrit.
Hello, fluffy bunny.
He is cute though. They are adorable. Focus on it, not me. It's cuter. There you go.
Yeah. Sometimes if you put your hand up behind the thing to completely block out your face, that'll help with the focusing.
Yeah. And I think the coolest part, and Seyrr, you're going to really appreciate this.
Ooh. Pretty.
A very nice pin of the Asm pendant, Asm stone. It's actually solid metal, so it's pretty bulky. I'd say girthy, but that might get some wrong. People might think I'm being a little bit silly there. Me silly? Never. So yeah, that's what came in the collector's edition this year. So I was very surprised to see it and have it arrive in one piece. So very happy. So let's go ahead and we won't go through all of this, but for those of you who have not yet seen it, I just linked the patch notes for Endwalker. There's a lot in there, a lot of cool stuff, and we probably won't talk about too much of it, don't know if you want to talk about anything in there in particular, Sarah.
Oh, not especially at this point. I am trying to be very careful. I've finished the MSQ myself, but I know that there's a lot of people who barely had a chance to play, so I am being extra careful about what I say.
Yeah, fortunately, the patch notes are completely spoiler free.
Yeah.
They talk about the zones that have been announced already. The ones that have not been announced are not listed, which is nice.
Yeah. Additional new areas have been omitted to prevent spoilers. They do have some gorgeous shots of Mare Lamentorum, though.
Yes, the moon is very cool. There's a lot of cool stuff to explore on the moon as well. All the different main story and side story quests that were added. I really enjoy some of the changes that have been made to some of the existing systems. Like I was talking about with Sarah before we went live. Spearfishing is actually a lot of fun. It took me a little bit to get used to it, but yeah, give it a try. I think it's a lot better than it was. It's not quite to the level of a mini game that, say, the old mining and logging was, but it's still kind of cool. You can either play it via just, try and get as much as you can, or you can try and be very precise and go after just specific types of fish. So
yeah, there are different sizes to the fish, so with a little bit of knowledge of what's at a given fishing spot, you can try to more carefully target particular ones.
Yep. I'm just kind of going through and seeing if there's anything that we can discuss that's not. Have you had a chance to go check out Imperium?
I have not. That would be the new Ishgardian housing district,
yes,
based off of the firmament that we all helped restore. For the moment, I believe not available for actual house purchases,
correct,
but you can at least start getting the lay of the land.
Yep. They opened up one of the areas so we can go and take a look at it and get the layout of where the different houses are, so people can kind of plan, which ones they're going to go after, put their money in so they can enter the lottery. I'm contemplating just a couple of nice locations for the mansions. Maybe I'll move my personal to Ishgard. But I mean, it's going to be expensive.
And I mean, one of the things that was noted was that the new lottery system does not prioritize relocations as well. You've got to roll the dice same as everyone else.
Exactly. So I have as much of a chance of getting the large plot that I want that you do. There is still, you can only enter the lottery once. So you can't pick a bunch of spots and hope you get one of them. You are basically, you pick the spot and you hope that you get it. So there's still going to be a little bit of strategy involved. Maybe you're going to want to go to the sub ward of the of one of the later districts where maybe less people are going, or maybe you want to pick one of the middle ones. Who knows? But a lot of new housing stuff was added. One of the coolest features that they've added to the what do they call that system? The I'm so bad at remembering the names of some of these systems.
Describe it.
The one with all the different cool things that you can wear.
Glamours?
No, not the glamour system. It's the new one with the wings and the umbrellas.
Oh, fashion accessories.
The accessories, yes. They added glasses to accessories, or they added a specific set of glasses as fashion accessories.
So now you can always be wearing glasses with everything.
Yep. I'm contemplating doing that with my red mage, but until they actually get sunglasses available in there, I might wait. Because what's weird, you can wear glasses on your glasses.
Yeah. I mean, I usually have my headpieces glamour to be glasses, so I'm a fan.
Yeah, so now you can actually wear cool hats on some of them. I mean, I have to say the particular pair
Green hat and glasses.
The particular hat or glasses they chose for this particular fashion accessory, I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm hoping they come up with some of the other designs and put them in there for future. So that would be kind of nice to have.
I mean, given that they've shown they can do it, I do imagine they're going to keep expanding it.
One would hope. Also, the bunny boys are in game. So if you wanted to create your little bunny boy, please go right ahead.
So many people I know have changed to Bunny Boy.
I haven't seen that many, honestly. But then again, I was kind of heads down going through MSQ, but it's not. They're not as easy to spot as cat boys, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe it just
there was at least one Bunny Boy NPC that I thought was a bunny girl.
Oh yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about.
Until I heard them talk.
One of the gleaners?
Yes. Until I heard him talk, I thought he was female.
That gleaner was actually pretty cool, though. I liked them.
Yeah. But yeah.
For those of you who've gotten to that part of the story, you know what we're talking about. So yeah, that's. I'm not going to go any deeper into patch notes at this point, but
yeah.
Go ahead, take a look at them and see. Read through what you want to find. I will mark a few things that I'd like to remind people to do if you haven't yet had a chance to do them when you got into Endwalker. Make sure you exchange your tomestones for poetics, because they are going to be getting rid of the old expansion's tomestones. They're going to be leaving the game, so we have an opportunity to turn them. I think it's a 2-to-1 exchange.
I'm not sure. I know traditionally it's been 4-to-1 into poetics, but I haven't actually checked it for this one.
It might be 4-to-1, but yeah, you exchange them in the same place with Ariana and Mordona, and you can convert them all into poetics, so you can make sure to get better gear for your Reaper and Sage, who you should unlock as well. Make sure to go and find those quests and unlock those jobs. They're a lot of fun.
Definitely haven't seen a lot of those.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you go into Zadnor right now, place is packed with them. I've heard that's a great place to level up your your new jobs. So,
yep.
Though, don't you have to be level 71 to get in there?
Level 70.
It is just straight up level 70. I thought it was 71 for some reason.
No, I believe it's 70.
Oh, it was. I was thinking Heaven on High, you had to be 61 in order to get into it. You couldn't go in as a straight 60.
Right.
But anyway. Also, you'll want to exchange your yellow scripts for white scripts, and I believe you can do that with any script vendor. I have yet to do that one. Because I got to spend my scripts first.
In general, the script interface is a lot easier to use.
Oh,
it's unified among all the different vendors and has a much more clear breakdown of categories.
Yep. Make sure to go get your belts if you forgot to take them off prior to the game's release or the expansion's release. You can go to the Calamity Salvagers and grab all your belts. I believe it will still have materia attached if there was anything. You won't be able to wear them, but they have a really interesting little note within their flavor text talking about how they were used in a day before pants could hold themselves up. Or something like that.
Oh.
Either that or we've all gone with suspenders.
There was a line that someone posted from one of the quests I wish I could find again. I'll let you know if I find it.
Okay. Also, this is a big one. Convert all your HQ gathering items into NQ so you can consolidate your inventory if you're like me and save everything. Yep. I mean, you'll cut down and you'll save a ton of space on your retainers. Anything that's been crafted though, like from a raw ingredient, so it's like a mid-step ingredient, like sugar or butter, that can still be HQ because
your raw ores need to be tuned down, or else they're not going to get any benefits. So you might as well at least consolidate your stacks.
Yeah.
Your high quality, your ingots though, and other stuff, raw materials versus mid parts. The mid parts can still be high quality.
Yep, but anything that you gather directly needs to be converted. Otherwise, it's basically worthless at that point. I think you can craft with it, but you don't get a bonus.
Yeah,
you just can't. You can't sell it anymore. I mean, that's what I did before Endwalker released. I actually spent a couple weeks emptying out inventories and selling it on the market board, and I made a couple million gil off of that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Might as well go for it. And then for those of you who have tried out your gatherers, you're going to want to definitely clean off those hotbars, because anything that helped with HQ item improvement, yeah, that stuff's gone. They really consolidated a lot of the stuff out of those.
Yeah, so many of them trimmed down.
Yes. So that will help to clear up your UI a little bit, give you some free retainer space, and get you right back into it so you can continue enjoying the story of Endwalker, which I also finished. I finished it actually last Friday.
And here it is.
Okay.
It's a line apparently from the current Starlight celebration, where the Saint of Nymea comments, "Belts? Ah, yes, those fabled objects that were said to have once held up many an adventurous pantaloons. And yet, it is strange. When I try to recall what they looked like, I see them only in silhouette, as if they stood betwixt me and a blinding glare." Call back to the what happened to the original Warriors of Light from Cartano.
Damn it, Saint. I mean, Gobbard, I mean Saint.
He's just a wandering craftsman here to help give the children their wonderful Starlight presents. Anything else, ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and give us some spoiler-free thoughts on Endwalker, shall we?
Oh, I have so much, and even if I had finished finished it before last week, I would not have wanted to do the show last week just because of the amount of time needed to process. This is a story that has been the better part of a decade in the making. It is quite possibly the most Final Fantasy of our expansions. Like, just if you're like, okay, I've said before that saying like, okay, this is what defines a Final Fantasy is impossible to do. That like trying to identify, okay, this is a specific thing that appears in all of them, like you can't really do that. And yet, whatever that quality is that makes something Final Fantasy, this expansion, the story of the stuff you did in it, the places you went, all together, it felt more like that than any of the previous ones. Which isn't to say the previous ones were bad, just that this touched that platonic ideal of it somehow.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that Shadowbringers was peak 14, but no.
They're peak 14 in different ways. I was impressed with how dark they were willing to go at some points.
Holy, can we talk about that for just a second? You know, previous storylines that we've seen in expansions, generally, most of the things have a happy ending. We found a cure for tempering. We're able to save the kids in distress. We find the lost sheep. You know, we go out and we accomplish our goals.
Yeah.
There's a lot of loss and death in Endwalker. I'm not going any deeper into that, but there's a lot of fucking loss.
So there are sequences where for instance, you have civilians and in some cases children that are put into danger. And in some of those, they didn't pull the punch. They didn't say, oh, they somehow managed to miraculously escape. What you would expect to happen in that situation happens in that situation. Right down to the point where later in another sequence where an infant was put into danger, I had no doubt that they were about to kill that infant. Yeah. Won't get into the specifics of what actually did go on there, but going into it, I was like, no, the rules are out the window. There isn't a safe thing here. There isn't okay, we're going to... No, they are really driving home. In situations like this, when the world is going to hell, people get hurt and people die. And the people who die so it is unfair who gets picked for it. or not even picked, because that suggests there's some kind of conscious effort, who just happens to get caught up in it. It is unfair. It does not discriminate. It does not save the people you think ought to be saved. It is cruel and unthinking and unthinking and unfeeling, which really made the threat posed by what you're facing that much greater. It felt like a real existential threat as a result.
I know why they did it. It didn't make it feel any better. Yeah. But it really, this story really brought out the feels. I mean,
and we've seen this from Ishikawa before. We saw the Dark Knight quests where you had to deal with the abuse of a child, where you had to deal with people struggling with the death of their loved ones, where again no punches were pulled, where people dealt with and reacted to things much like they would in real life, where the lesson wasn't there's a happy ending waiting. The lesson was you struggle and you endure. But
that is if that's not Final Fantasy XIV in one line, I don't know what is.
And the amazing thing is, with all of that no punches pulled, going incredibly dark, they still managed to bring a really hopeful and, I don't want to say uplifting because that sounds too trite, but they brought a story out of it that felt cathartic and almost therapeutic in some ways.
There was closure. There was satisfying closure to this story.
I do feel like a really good story, in some ways, it reflects the time in which it's being told, the experiences that its audience has had. And I know not just for myself, but for so many people I've talked with about this story, for the real life experiences we've had, for the thoughts and fears and doubts we've been facing, it explored some of those questions and thoughts we've been having and gave a really beautiful answer to them. It felt like a story that could only really exist in this moment.
Yeah, like
which was a god fucking damn masterwork.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically saying, would they have come up with this if COVID wasn't a thing? I'm sure they would have come up with something, or maybe we wouldn't have felt it the same.
Not just COVID, like all sorts of things in the modern era in these in recent. There's a sequence where the fates of a number of civilizations are discussed, and there was some that just like, that is rather too on the nose. Why is this being brought up here? It felt way too real. And so again, this felt like something that's really the reflection of this moment, of the journey that so many of us have taken as we become more aware of what's going on in the world around us, as things like the internet have brought us closer together and made us more aware of what experiences others have had. It's a fascinating and unique set of traumas, and this feels like a story that really that didn't shy away from that didn't shy away from the reality of the experiences people have had, but faced it head on.
Yeah.
Which is so fucking weird for an MMORPG story. This is a goddamn MMORPG, I want to remind you.
Yes, this is a video game. This is not real life.
I mean, it's a video game, yes, but there are plenty of video games that do really powerful stuff with their storytelling. But this is like an MMO. This is okay, you go online and you do a raid for a dungeon. It's not supposed to be doing this, but it did, and it fucking works somehow.
And Rory's in the chat, or is it?
I mean, yes, there is a lot of challenging of preconceptions going on here.
Well, you mean, there is a new movie coming out on Wednesday. That maybe it's a documentary of what's actually happening. The new Matrix movie is coming out. Maybe we're in the Matrix.
That is also still so weird to me, but that's another matter.
I wonder if he still knows Kung Fu.
Maybe I'll just watch Encanto again. That's like more reassuring. It's pretty songs. Let Seyrr have pretty songs and feel a different set of feelings.
But there are a lot of pretty songs that just they elicit different feelings. And they're very pretty songs. I mean, you've had them stuck in your head for how long now?
Oh, I thought you were talking about The Matrix. Oh yeah, no, the music is
Yeah.
The music in this expansion is gorgeous. Soken has done it again. There's a couple recurring pieces that seem to deal with just like evocation of certain sets of emotion, dealing with this kind of like hopeful thing that I swear you can overlay that track onto almost anything, and it becomes this really heartwarming scene that makes me want to cry a little bit. It's somehow musically tapping into this, at least for me, this deep need I felt for like to be able to feel like, you know what, things are bad and things can be okay. It is a hug in musical form.
Speaking of, one of the first songs in Final Fantasy that actually, brought me that kind of emotion, Answers, from 1.0, is brought back. And
Yeah.
it is brought back and it gives an entirely different set of emotions.
Yeah. This is, as we said, a culmination of this long-ranging story arc, this thing that started with Answers, that, yeah, like those lyrics, they're re-explored, they're reinterpreted, new meaning derived from them. That was a goddamn masterwork right there. One thing I do want to throw in, I don't, so the very early on in the quest, you do travel to Old Charlene, of course. They have that as a boat ride, and there's a little cinematic where like it's showing the underdecks sweeping out over the crowd, all that. That is a shot-for-shot recreation of the Limsa Lominsa introduction in 1.0, right down to the outfits that everyone is wearing. Like, if you really want to bring home that, like, hey, here's this story that we've been telling, and now here's this situation that, again, 1.0 players are going to see, like, yes, this exact thing. Here is this moment recreated again. It's a subtle nod that a lot of people aren't even going to notice. But when I saw, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah. And then we sweep over that. And then to those ones, and there's a Lalafell there. Yeah, no, like shot for shot recreation.
Well, they had the assets.
Yeah. I mean, they've got it. It's more of the fact they're like, no, this is a really good opportunity to again revisit this. Okay, you're starting out this journey by traveling in this way. Again, given the fact that this is supposed to be like this final act of this story, having that little callback in that really tiny, unexpected way. It was just this beautiful touch of attention to detail, this little wink and nod to how far it has come all the way back from Legacy and 1.0. Like just that little acknowledgement there for those who did see it, for those who remember it. Yeah, no, this is this culmination of all this. We see you. We remember your experience too. We're thinking about you as well. And it was just this really unexpected delight to have this moment. It kind of let me have my guard down a little. Feel like, okay, they understand the importance of what they're doing here. They understand just how big this is for us.
And then they smack you in the face shortly after that.
Well, yeah. I mean, they kind of gotta.
But, I mean, speaking of unexpected, the story really does go into a lot of unexpected locations. I mean, literal locations. And
yeah,
it does it masterfully. I'm not going to say where we go, but it's just how
two of the
zones.
Two of those field locations are not listed on the updates for very good reason. We can't even really discuss much of the nature of them without getting to massive spoilers.
Other than the fact they did an amazing job with them.
I will say, it was somewhere around level 83 where I started being really shocked of, hey, I don't think we're supposed to be here yet. Hey, I don't think we're supposed to be doing this yet. Oh my God, this just happened and we are, check experience bar, about 1/3 of the way into this. How has this happened already? I remember chatting with Spender and he was like, yes, that's about the point where everyone just puts their bingo cards in the shredder.
Yeah, basically. My initial thought was we would be ending this game on the moon.
Yeah.
No.
And so we of course do go to the moon, and it's like, okay, we're gonna go here, we're gonna explore around a little bit, find about something.
Wait,
and then
wait,
we'll
why are we
leave.
doing this? What's going on
It's
here?
like,
What happened here?
it's like we'll leave to go accomplish other stuff, and then we'll come back for the thrilling conclusion. And the fact that everything on the one hand was so unexpected and felt like it came so out of left field, and on the other, it didn't feel like the kind of like M. Night Shyamalan, okay, we had a twist for the sake of having a twist. It was so unexpected, but it also felt so natural. And so like, okay, once you see it, of course that's the way it had to go.
It was
Of course that's how it, like, once you saw it, it was like, no, that makes sense. That was inevitable.
no, there's still one piece I don't understand exactly how they got into that to make it make sense, but it does make sense. And we'll talk about that in a month, but still.
I'll talk about it with you after the show.
After the stream goes down. We're not going to spoil anything else. So,
but yes, for those who do like the individual discussion, definitely join us on our Discord.
we do have a
for that. Go ahead, Toss.
we do have a spoiler chat channel available. So if you do want to talk about some of that stuff, by all means,
go ahead and throw that link in there. Our Discord server, love discussing that stuff. There's a lot to be said. There's a lot of analysis to do. There's so much more I would be saying if not for fastidiously avoiding anything that's going to take away those twists and turns. But there's a lot there.
Yeah,
and
we got as close as we could without spoiling anything. So I think we're good there.
yeah, no, I'm being very careful in what I say and how I say it.
No, I'm more worried about me, not you.
But yeah, no, that's like. And you can see why, okay, they wanted to take those extra couple weeks just to check everything because of how carefully and intricately, how much it goes between, wait, this is completely unexpected. How can this and, oh, of course it had to be this. There's no other way it could be. Oh. Like those pieces falling into place. It is just beautiful. It is a sublime experience, which again, goddamn MMO. The plot of an MMO is not usually something that has you saying, this is a sublime experience of storytelling.
No, unless that MMO is Final Fantasy XIV, the critically acclaimed MMO with that used to have a free trial that went up to level 60 and includes the expansion Heavensward.
Yeah. So yeah.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and we'll put the pin in the story and we'll talk more in depth on that.
Yeah,
on the
we'll
next
talk more
episode,
about that later on
next year. Sorry, bad joke. Let's talk a little bit about the dungeons and how well they move through the story.
Yeah, that was another one where, again, like, really well integrated. They did some very interesting stuff with trusts this time around. They continue to develop that system.
Let's talk about trusts. They improved by a ton. I mean, I actually used trusts on some of these runs. The fact, I don't think this is a spoiler. I mean, we know that there are trials in the expansion. But we can use our trusts in the trial.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I had way back with Bozcha when we had the whole thing where we went into Sid's memory and we had that sequence with fight alongside the Scions. I was like, okay, this is clearly a prototype for how you might use trusts in a trial situation because there were 7 of them alongside us.
Yeah, we had 8 people in our party.
Yep. No, way back then, I was like, okay, this is clearly a prototype and experimenting for how this might look. And they brought in because, it's such a, like, they've lampshaded several times how unlikely it is that they may have the adventurers who come, who just happen to be there, our friends who happen to be on a fishing trip when we need to fight Susano, stuff like that. So being able to bring in those trusts, especially at a really story-critical moment when it made sense to have them all. We have, of course, the Scions who we've been developing those relationships. There were little things like, I remember in the patch notes, it was included that if someone was going to be speaking during a battle, it would now have a little portrait of them to show who's speaking. And I was like, okay, that's a tiny little change. And they leveraged the integration of the NPCs in the battle sequences with like the comments, the ways they're interacting. I was like, now I see why they added that, because they were going to lean hard on that.
And the one thing we didn't talk about, it's not necessarily a dungeon related thing, but in quests, how they now have NPCs following you. That was brought in and was actually well done, well executed. I did find myself thinking, oh yeah, maybe we'll just go a little faster and use the ether. Oh crap, and having to go back to the beginning of where it and picked up the NPC again. But
yes, part of that is, of course, so like you can't use the mounts while you're doing that. You can't use an aetherite. So part of the goal is to make you go through an area to get, like, for instance, the initial exploration of Old Charlayan. You go along with a few NPCs who will introduce you to various areas, and it gives you that whole like, okay, we're actually walking around with them. Yep. We're not just it's not just a okay, hop to the next story point. It's a okay, we're going to actually have this experience of exploring with them.
Yep, it slows you down a little bit,
which I know some people did not appreciate. I did hear some complaints about that from people who are like, I get that, but I really do want to move quickly on this, and so this is becoming a thing that bogs it down.
At least it's not escort missions.
Yeah. One of the things I did appreciate was, generally, if there was a location you were supposed to go to, there would be several optional locations that you could go by and get some extra commentary from your fellow NPCs as well. When you're exploring Old Charlayan, you can stop by several other spots and get some extra little details. For those of us who like those extra bits of lore, who like those extra little touches to really flesh out a world, it really felt like, okay, we're getting a proper walking tour. We're not just focusing on the bit that's important to the story right now, but it's like, okay, if they were actually taking us around on the tour of the place.
Yeah, I really like the tour of Starbucks.
The one place that actually cares about the flavor in Old Charlayan.
It's not really called Starbucks, but it is just too funny of a name.
It really ought to be.
It should be. I think that's the unofficial name. Well, I think there might be a few lawsuits if they did that, but
they even have their branded coffee cups.
I know. How cute is that?
Oh, but so yeah. Lots of little touches like that, where at first it was like okay, this seems like an interesting gimmick, and then turned out to be okay, it's really this thing to try to draw you in more, to try to really create more of the feel of what it would be like to go through this, being led around by someone who's giving you a tour, really forcing you to slow down and experience the world around you.
I guess I thought overall everything was very well done. So I mean, I definitely cannot complain about how that part was introduced into the system, and then getting back to the dungeons, how well they integrated with the storyline, the mechanics, how the trusts were really improved.
I think they actually do use some amount of AoEs now. They're still not going to spam them as crazily as regular players do, but they do seem a little more intelligent in their use of some stuff.
I don't think that they're really using much in AoEs, because they were still killing enemies one at a time, even though I was AoE bursting and all that stuff. But
like, the ones I saw, they tended to focus on one, but they did at least splash in a few AoEs.
Well, especially if it was part of the rotation. I mean, for the Dragoon rotation, if you've got a Stinian in your party, hopefully he's using all of his things off global cooldown and stuff.
And Alice did go ahead and eat a few attacks, which also seems in character.
It was actually...
Oh, Alice.
Like I said, having them in the first run of the story dungeons, it felt right. And in Shadowbringers, it felt tacked on. But it felt really in place in Endwalker, and I thought they did an amazing job and made it more seamless. As far as the dungeons themselves, I thought that they were really well thought out. I mean, yeah, there's still a straight line for the most part, but the interaction within them is really nice. There's some really good set pieces within a lot of these dungeons without getting into detail, but it just really goes in depth, and it really sets the mood of what they're trying to accomplish.
I will say that the level 85 dungeon didn't really land for me as well as it did for the others. Like,
I'm trying to remember where the location of that is.
That would be the one that was in Thavnair.
I'm blanking.
See, that's exactly how memorable it was. I am going to send you a message really quickly as a reminder.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
no,
it was a thing, but it's like...
Well, the storyline dungeons, unfortunately, with a lot of the expansions, you only run them the one time for the most part, unless you happen to get it within another roulette or you're helping a friend through it.
I mean, that's the thing. For some of the others, I genuinely wouldn't mind running them again. It's like, okay, no, this was something where like it was a really awesome set piece. It was something that really did this excellent job of evoking what was going on. But that at 85 one, like, I get how it kind of fit the larger pattern of what we were trying to do at the point, but the actual dungeon itself, it felt like the dungeon equivalent of this meeting could have been an email.
Yes and no. It really, realistically.
Hi, welcome to Seyrr's Hot Takes.
You know what? Actually, you know what it reminds me of now that I'm having more time to process it again? Holminster Switch.
Which I feel like Holminster Switch worked because it was like an introduction to a thing.
But, well, if you think about it in that aspect, it does make a little bit more sense. But I understand what you're saying, too, because it took me a while to remember what the hell it was.
Yeah. Like, I can see what you're saying. I feel like it just didn't land quite as well, especially since...
It wasn't as strong, no.
Yeah, and in that respect, it was kind of pulling the same thing Holminster Switch did. So, like, it wasn't necessarily as memorable for that.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing with Holminster Switch, it at least had a little bit of closure to another piece of the story.
Horrible closure.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what made it more memorable. Versus it didn't have the exact same memorability within Endwalker, but it's kind of served the same purpose, just not quite as well.
Like, Holminster Switch had the entire thing with Tesleen.
It's the Holminster Switch at home.
To add that element of like horrified to really amp up the emotional reaction and get you really invested in, and that one this one just didn't land as well for me.
We already have Holminster Switch at home.
Holminster Switch at home.
Yes, that's what this is.
Yeah. But that said, out of 6 main scenario dungeons, having one be one where I'm like, that's still pretty damn good. Especially when, oh my god.
Tower of Zot was a great place to start.
Yeah. And like those level 89 and 90 dungeons.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna like the middle acts of a story are where it can be a little bit weaker, but that strong ending, that beautiful, gorgeous.
It started off really strong. There was a couple of really good dungeons there, and then like I said, we had to kind of slow down in the middle.
And I mean, like the 85 isn't even bad. It's just not as good.
And if that's our worst one, I mean, it's still gonna get about a C grade, meaning everything else is B and above. So yeah. Trials, let's talk a little bit about those. They did a really good job on the trials and being able to, like I said, bring in your trusts on trial.
Yeah.
Chef's
one
kiss.
of the only one of them you could use your trusts on.
But it's the one that you want to use your trusts on. It is the one that thematically it is so goddamn appropriate that you can. I did too. Did you?
All of them. I did. I absolutely did. All of them were just really fun, lots of interesting engaging mechanics, stuff that again fit in really well with the theming, so I was really pleased with those. I got myself killed more than a few times, but I never felt like it was a complete bullshit death.
Actually, no, I'm thinking I think we can do it in 2 different of them.
Nope, there are 3 trials and only one of them do we get to bring in trusts.
Okay. I thought we could do it in a different one, but I'm thinking something else.
For the other 2, there's a whole like, with the power of Azem, we can call buddies to our side.
Okay. But I thought they were really well done. Have not yet jumped into the extremes. I do plan on doing that though, so maybe I'll probably jump into those after I get through Pandemonium Story.
Yeah, but there is a really nice kind of, just like the ones that they actually are, there's a kind of interesting thing between. So, yeah, I can't really say more. They're good. I was really pleased with them. It did have a thing where, again, like, I died a few times, but I never felt like it was complete bullshit ones. Oh, yes. Raven pointed out that in the trial that you do with trusts, because normally there's the, oh, hey, if you die, the whole thing resets. And for a dungeon, that maybe is a little bit more fair, but for a trial where it's like, okay, your entire progress has been discarded, that sucks a bit.
Because
so they did
it's nice that they allowed it to continue on.
So yes, they actually did add a thing where you can endure some number of deaths. The trust will hopefully heal you up unless you have reached a thing where half of them have died because you accidentally stood at the wrong spot, and so they gathered somewhere that they couldn't escape the next mechanic.
Yeah.
Not that I'm admitting that I did that like twice.
Jeez, Seyrr.
I figured it out the third time.
It's all good.
But yes.
Good stuff.
The fact that they did even consider that aspect, that if they had kept the when you die it resets thing for that, it would make the trial much more unforgiving than the regular dungeon would, and accounted for it was really nice. So really good observation there, Raven.
Yep. Let's talk about the zones. Like I said, we have 4 of the zones that were mentioned by name prior to release, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, the one zone's not quite as beautiful, but it's still very well done, and it's a great set piece. I didn't expect it to be so cold, though.
Yeah, so of course I believe they're referring to Garlemald, which we've known for a while that we're going to be visiting. We've known for a while that it's pretty goddamn wrecked.
But I didn't know it was going to be a frickin' winter there like that.
Yeah, like it is your like motherland, Russia, Siberia kind of place. Really, after all the threat we've had of like Garlemald as this constant thing, getting to go there and seeing how it is harsh even to its citizens, how it's this really like going there in some ways explained so much about what we've had to deal with it, and what not just the geography of it, but a lot of the locations, stuff like looking at bits of the city center, looking at those, one part where there is a public park and exploring, seeing what civic life was like in Garlemald.
That was one of the, that's the quest line actually brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of sadness involved with that.
Like,
well, especially, there's other reasons why I was already weakened by that point.
Yeah, it was rather amazing that, like, again, like, taking this thing that has been the evil empire for so long and managing to humanize it, or, like, add that complexity and nuance.
No, it was well scripted. Let's jump back to the first zone we get to visit. That would be, first place we visited is Charlayan. And we get all our exploration of that. Really nice hub city. And then we get to go to Thavnair.
Well, it depends which quest you do first, but sure, we'll go with Thavnair.
Okay, that's right. There was the beginning split, wasn't there? But one goes to Thavnair.
It's pretty much a tradition at this point. We go to the one of the new cities, and from there we get a little thing to explore around and check out 2 paths at once to get a little bit more of a feel of what's going on.
And I think I chose the Thavnair path first.
Yeah, I ended up doing Thavnair first as well.
I love the story of how it got us there.
Leaving that aside, Thavnair, of course, has a bit more of like a Middle Eastern Indian inspiration going on. Really love the local beast tribe, the Arkasodra, I believe it is. Mm-hmm. One of the races of one of the subgroups of the Matanga. Really lovely representation of a lot of various things of like Indian culture, clothing, a lot of the designs. It was just like, okay, this is clearly their equivalent of India, and it's a really cool place.
It's very colorful. It's very vibrant. It was full of life. At one point.
Got this really cool alchemical thing going on.
Yep. A lot of cool stuff with that.
Yeah, I mean, the word alchemy has its origins in like algebra, meaning to equalize. I forget what alchem.
Now he's gonna look it up. I'm trying to remember
Hey,
what.
I just got access to an etymology dictionary recently. Of course, I'm gonna look.
So if you split the other way, did it take us to Labyrinthos?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we do have Thavnair, which we did of course have the whole thing again, like with Shadowbringers, where we had Yulmore, where we got to visit it, but it wasn't until much later in the game that we got to like really like have that direct connection, be able to go there freely, all of that.
Yeah.
And we ended up seeing something similar where we got to briefly experience Radzat but it wasn't until much later that we got to really enjoy it.
Yep. Yep.
But it's a gorgeous city. It looks like the
nice.
equivalent as the place where you spend your tombstones, all the type of thing like that. So I'm looking forward to spending a bit more time in its streets.
It's very laid out. It's all spread out. It's not easy to get through it. And
Let's see, from the Arabic al-Kimiyya, perhaps from an old name for Egypt, literally land of black earth, or from the Greek kimatos, that which is poured out, from the word to pour. Anyways,
that's your
the word has Middle Eastern origins.
Fair. All right, and then then if you go the other route, you start off in Labyrinthos.
Yep.
Giant underground layer underneath Charlayan.
Started off as just a old volcanic cavern that the Charlayans, being Charlayans, decided to turn into a storage facility, because if you're going to have the world's greatest educational institution, you got to have archives. And those archives aren't just books. It's like, hey, let's go ahead and archive this research specimen, this entire thing of flowering plants, this species. And so you end up with
rock.
Good amount of that. So you've got this entire underground ecosystem, complete with panels to simulate outside atmosphere and environment. This entire underground world that a couple of times I had to remind myself, okay, we are technically in like a fantasy game, because this looks like something right out of like high sci-fi. This artificial underground biome, complete with simulated weather, day-night cycle, all of that.
And then the exposition of what it actually is amazing too.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we'll let you guys discover that on your own.
It's on its own, it's a fascinating space. As you go, you find that again, the more like with everything else in Charlayan, there's always something underneath the surface, literally in this case, but metaphorically as well.
And then the other place that we get to, then we get to explore Garlemald. We talked about that, and how cold and broken it is after everything that happened. And then the moon. We all thought the moon was the be all end all, but I mean, I guess it makes sense that they're not going to tell us what the be all end all is for this game, are they?
So one thing I will, without going into too much detail, going back and looking at a lot of the materials, the shots that they showed us of the moon are very, very carefully selected and curated.
100%. What they showed us is beautiful, and there's a reason why they showed us just that. But some of the things that are on the moon it's fun to explore. I'll just say that. It's a lot of fun to explore it.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that's like, okay, if they had been developing telescope technology just a bit more and they'd pointed it up there, they probably would have started noticing some weird stuff. There's an unexpected amount going on up there.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And then there's two zones we're not going to talk about at all.
Yeah.
but I hope you enjoy them as much as we did.
Like the fact that the moon was one of the ones that they reveal, I feel like kind of because usually the stuff they don't reveal is the stuff that's like super massive spoilery types. And the fact that they could talk about the moon says that okay, there's stuff that's a bigger deal.
Well, you also have to remember they talked about the moon back in 2.0.
Ish.
They were on the moon. 2.0 and 3.0. Come on, man. Anyway, everything, the zones, beautiful. I thought they were going to simplify the whole ethereal currents thing, though. They still went pretty strong on it this time.
Yeah, they did simplify it for previous regions, but I think that was more of a if you're going through the old stuff and catching up.
Yep, but there were
you still got to explore around and find those ethereal currents. Still got to do a batch of quests.
They did move the compass though. If you're used to checking for it in your key items, it's no longer there. It is now under travel. No, it's in collections. It's under collections.
It's in collection. Oh my god, that was just such a little change. It's like, yay, I don't have another thing clogging up my key items because every time I have to go back and fetch
Seyrr,
the thing.
I need to interrupt.
Oh,
Wendell Rigsby, thank you so much for donating to Extra Life. We really do appreciate that. We are still taking donations until the end of the year, and if we can hit what was it, twice our last year's goal, which was 1,051 we hit last year. So if we get to 2102, I will shave the beard. So thank you so much for that. That puts us. We were at over $1,590, so we're over $1,600 now. Thank you. That's awesome. I mean, every amount we get now is a new record, which is really cool. So I was going to mention it at the top of the show, but I just was like, I don't know if I want to really push it too hard because I really did kind of push on it hard for a little while. But if you guys want to donate, there's still time and it is a tax deduction. Anyway, enough of adulting. Let's jump into. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the job changes. Now, I will say I have limited experience with the jobs. I played through it as Bard, but I also played a little bit of Sage and Reaper, and I played a little bit of Warrior and a little bit of Dancer, and then I did a little bit of Gathering.
I played pretty much entirely as Warrior, and then tried a couple other jobs against a striking dummy for like 5 minutes. So I can mostly talk about Warrior, which is mostly, holy crap, I am so survivable now.
And Bards have a really nice AoE rotation now.
Like, oh my god, my self-heal, I would be like doing a trust dungeon. It's like, okay, I have dropped down to a little under half health, and I activate Bloodwetting and do one AoE, and oh hey, I'm full again. And Bloodwetting had a pretty short recast. It's like the amount of like self-heal and sustain that warriors have now is kind of crazy. It is very difficult to murder me.
Challenge accepted. The one thing that I will notice was, right away seeing the loss of basically 100,000 HP when I logged in. I think I started at like just under 30,000 HP or something like that. I think I had 135,000 before Endwalker dropped.
The numbers got a bit smaller. That said, in terms of like how long I expect it to take me to kill something, how much damage a thing is doing to me in terms of percentage of my life bar, stuff like that, most of that felt pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. I know that was the thing they mentioned, the numbers would change, but the overall like dynamic and feel wouldn't.
The one thing that I am using as kind of my measuring stick for how everything is going, B ranks, the weekly B ranks. I would do them on a regular basis, and I would know about how long it would take to kill, say, like the level 80 B rank from Shadowbringers. And I could usually get it taken down within the cast time of one song, which is about 30 seconds. and now it takes me about 40 seconds to kill the same one. It's still within that one song because they extended the duration of songs, which is a nice thing for Bard. But it does take a little bit longer to kill because of the way the stat squish actually was integrated. So,
looking at the chat, Aurora and Raven both play Summoner and are having very different experiences with it. Aurora says that Summoner seems to have lost a bit of mobility, which she's not all that thrilled with. And Raven says that he loves how bursty as hell it feels.
Also, I've seen a number of scholars playing, and the fact that they get to bring out actual summons again, that was pretty cool. Actually, seeing Ifrit and Titan and Garuda on the screen when you're used to seeing like an Eggy or something like that. Plus, you still have Bahamut and Phoenix. So, I've been listening to other podcasts discussing these things as well, and some of the people who were summoner mains were talking about how they like how that rotation works, and how yes, they did also mention the loss of mobility within summoner, but the fact that if you kind of use the color of the summons, it's kind of like a stoplight.
Yeah,
you kind of you stop moving around when you've got Ifrit out. You kind of have to be wary of where you're at with Titan out, but there's mobility when you've got Garuda.
Yeah. And I have a couple other friends who were also man, I know a lot of people who play Summoner. Where he commented that some people try to convince me it has extra complexity since the 3 summons each have their own style for the one button you'll be pressing all fight. But realistically, you have one DPS button and then some cooldown moves. So it sounded like he felt like, okay, it is very simplified at this point.
Mm-hmm. I've heard it's a little easier, but there is still nuance to it, to where those who really dig into it and perfect the rotation will be able to see a higher skill ceiling. As far as Bard goes, like I said, the first thing that I noticed was the extended duration of songs and the dots. It is up to 45 seconds for each of them, and it makes for very smooth transitions between songs, and it's really nice. I'm really enjoying how Bard plays. It feels like it has more punch. It's not quite as RNG based as it used to be. The procs do not rely on crits anymore, if I understand correctly. But they do still, and they seem to proc more often. And two of our procs were split. We know they're no longer tied together, so you have to either choose the AoE proc or the single target proc. They have their own separate, which is very nice.
So this was one thing I did notice in general. So, for instance, with Warrior, even if you're doing the AoE rotation, you might need to do the single target combo just to get like your damage buff up and things like that. And then the AoE stuff would maintain it, but it wouldn't actually apply it initially. And not just for Warrior, but for a lot of other jobs, it worked that way, where the AoE stuff might maintain it, but it wouldn't actually give the initial one. And they did change it so that the AoEs now seem to give in addition to maintaining. So it's much easier to have a true AoE rotation without needing that initial setup, which I believe was especially annoying for Samurai, as they had 2 paths that they need to go along to get both of their buffs up.
The one thing that I wish Bard had was a gap closer. We've got a way to get away from them, but we have to run up. So if
you're specifically a ranged class.
But there's those times that we need to get into the boss, because there's a lot of boss fights where there's a huge circle AoE around it, but not,
Sure, but that's just not like in the nature of the job. That's just something that would be convenient.
Everybody else has a freaking gap closer.
Machinist doesn't.
I thought they did.
No, I don't think they have a
Dancer does.
Dancer just has it move around really fucking fast.
But it's a jump forward, where Bards have the jump back, Dancers.
The dancer is a jump in whatever direction you're facing.
Yeah.
Gap closers are exclusively moved towards the boss.
Okay. Well, I mean, you could still move forward. I'd like a move forward thing, please.
Yeah, and Rory's point out Machinist also doesn't have it.
Okay. All right. Well,
And I mean, technically, I don't think Black Mage does.
they have the thing that's that skill they cast, and it takes them right to
They
somebody.
have a thing that moved them to a buddy
Yeah.
or back to their ley lines.
Yeah. They can move forward fast and move back. They can go forward. And
No,
back.
no. No. I am going to have an entire talk with you about shibboleths after this.
You love it and you know it.
No, I do not. We are going to have a talk about this.
But no, other than that, I like the new skills we get. The capstone skill for Bard is really nice. It adds on to Apex Arrow, and it feels so nice to be able to go to hit that button twice and just shoot.
So yeah, Warrior's inner release changed from being 10 seconds of being able to spam stuff to 3 uses of it that need to be of a amplified beast gauge action that need to be used within 15 seconds, which I actually really appreciate, because now I don't worry about I can't pop in a release yet. I need to wait until everything is lined up to do the big thing. Now it's like, okay, it's up, go ahead and hit the next. Like, I end up using it way more as a result. And their capstone throws in one use of Primal Rend, which is a really, really huge single target attack that also does AoE for like a pretty, like, it's a pretty good AoE and also a really, really big hit against one of your targets.
Actually, no, I think I'm
It is
incorrect.
remarkably satisfying.
I'm incorrect as to which of the skills for the Bard is the capstone. The capstone is Coda. It basically it puts a charge into a meter every time you sing a song. A specific
It lets
song.
it lets you turn the songs you sung into a boost for the whole party.
Yes.
Damage-wise.
So basically, we get back that damage boosting ability that we had pre Shadowbringers, or maybe it was pre Stormblood actually.
Like, Bard, like, in terms of the class fantasy, Bard's supposed to be like you're singing songs and doing stuff that boosts the rest of the party, even as you're firing away yourself. Mm-hmm. And for a while, it seemed like they moved away from that a little bit, and a lot of the players did seem dissatisfied with that.
Yep.
So
the fact that
I'm
they
glad
brought
that
it
they're
back.
moving back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's 2% for one song, 4 for 2, and 6 for all 3. So it is nice that if you build it up for those specific spots, like I've got it set right now to when I go into a boss fight in a dungeon, I already have the other 2 songs primed in there. So when I cast my opener, it brings the 3rd song in, boom, I hit Coda, and then we get that nice boost right at the beginning of the battle. And I get to do it one more time in each fight. So
yeah,
it's satisfying.
I relatively recently learned about the concept of a class fantasy and how it's not just, okay, I want to play the singing mechanics. Like, as a bard, I sing songs that boost my fellow allies and do like kind of these like almost story aspect of like, okay, envisioning what your character is like and doing and how well the mechanics support that. And for a lot of the jobs, it feels a little bit like they're moving back towards, as a warrior, I keep like enduring and raging through, so like that strong self-heal and being able to deliver those really powerful hits, like it kind of feels like it fits in a bit more with that raging bestial hard to completely shut down type. Like, it really the mechanics as they're done feel like they've moved back closer to that fantasy, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. It makes the job satisfying to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it brings it back more to the Final Fantasy feel of the jobs. Even though most bards don't actually shoot arrows, but
bards have been done in a couple different ways. I'm okay with it.
No,
I am looking forward to trying out some of the other jobs and seeing what those are like. I have not gotten the chance to mess with Machinist yet, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, there have been a lot of positive changes coming out of it. I think the only ones that really didn't have much change done were Black Mage, and I heard monks aren't necessarily very happy right now. But you know,
how do the scholars feel? Because I remember that was a big thing of like a lot of people feeling like, okay, they didn't actually really get much. How do they feel at this point? Does anyone know?
I'm trying to recall if I remember anything memorable that I heard in the discussion, and I'm not hearing much. Like I said, a lot of it was involving summoners, because they had the actual summons change and things like that. But yeah, I don't really. I think Scholar's in an okay place.
I'll go ahead and ask Spender. He main scholar to the MSQ, and he is generally thoughtful about these things. If he happens to be around, I will let you know what he says.
And I have heard good things about Sage and Reaper as well.
Yeah.
I've played a little Sage in MSQ roulette, and it's quite interesting. Getting to shoot laser beams from your back. Well, from around your back, I should say. It's a little jarring. I'm still trying to get used to the whole aspect of its whole look and feel. They don't do in the story. They don't do a great job of introducing it when Alphino takes over and converts to a Sage. I'm sure that once we play through the actual quest line, it gets explained a little bit better. Or at least I hope it does, because it doesn't really.
I mean, the quest line is available at such a point that you don't even have to have entered Endwalker, so you could potentially be a Sage before you even get there.
You have to have owned the game, though.
You have to own it, but you don't have, like, if you were someone who, say, bought the complete set or whatever and installed it, like, once you get to the appropriate level, which I believe is 70.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like, if you were a newbie, you could end up playing Sage through Shadowbringers.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine that, yeah, there's going to be a bit more of like, okay, it's explained in there, rather than assuming that, oh, everyone's going to need it when they actually get to the where Alphino gets at in Endwalker.
Yep. And then, have you done any of the role quests yet? Did you do the tank role quest?
I have almost finished the tank role quests. Once I got focused on the MSQ, I was like, okay, I'll go back for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made some interesting changes to it. Rather than it have it be a thing that's available throughout for a variety of reasons, they have it where the role quests started at level 85 this time around. Mm-hmm. Though to make up for that pacing-wise, they have one every level instead of every other level.
I like that for the fact that it allows you to get used to that role before you jump right into it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are coming into Endwalker with all level 80s. I mean, there's a lot of Amaro mounts out there.
Yep, I got one.
Yep, so this is, I think, the very first time I've ever had all the jobs leveled up at the end of an expansion.
Yeah. The quests themselves seem to, again, be tying together and bringing a close to this thing. You're like, okay, we're kind of like going back and reviewing and delving a little bit more into all the different places we've traveled and all the different things we've done over the course of this.
It does make 100% sense to go through the job or the role quest as you're going through MSQ, at least the first one. It makes 100% sense, and it's tied into the story very well.
Yeah.
The rewards for completing them are actually very interesting as well, because there is gear that you can get at level 89.
Oh, yes.
Part of the story that you get to die if you complete its role quest.
So I'll go ahead and mention about this. I don't consider it spoilery at all. You end up getting your job-specific armor, your iconic outfit, your paladin's shield, your scholar mortarboard, all of that. You end up getting that as your level 89 armor, and you get it like given to you as part quest. I think it's not dungeon drops. The level 89 dungeon does not actually have any armor drops. It just has accessories, which I'm actually kind of okay with. I remember with Great Google Library, with Castrum Abania. What was it for? Then it would have been with Mount Golg. That's like the ones that are like XD9, that you get this armor that then gets almost immediately obsoleted, that you don't really get to enjoy that much. And it always felt like a little bit of a waste to develop this whole thing, to have this cool design and then to have it go away. Yep. So the fact that they decided to, in this case, they just dispensed with it entirely. You receive the set at 89. It is level synced down until you reach 90 on that job, at which point its full stats become available. And along with that, once you complete the role quest, you are then able to dye it. So I really like the approach they did for this. Simplified a lot of that stuff, made it so that gear level didn't feel wasted. Let you have this iconic outfit going into kind of the end game of the story if you so desire.
I glammed over it right away. The hat's nice for Bard. I will say that the hat is really nice. Is pretty nice. It's not Red Mage hat nice, but it's still kind of nice.
But I really appreciated the way that they handled it. I was like, okay, this is a thing that was really thoughtful, that wasn't necessary, but fixed a lot of problems I had never really crystallized in my mind that were problems that I had. But once I saw the problems it fixed, I realized, oh yeah, this was something that had always bothered me. I just never thought it was a big enough deal to start complaining about it, but it did bother me, and I'm happy that they did something about it.
Well, other people must have complained enough for them to fix it. But I mean, it's very similar to what they did in Shadowbringers, where we had Geralt's doppelganger under the sea, giving us free armor when we hit level 80 or 70.
Yeah.
80. Yeah, it was 80.
It was 80, and you did have to complete the role quest there.
Oh, that one was a role? No, that wasn't a role quest thing, was it?
Because you had to have completed one of the role quests in order to bring him the crystal that he would then use to be inspired.
Okay.
So yeah, for Geralt stuff, it was only available at level 80 because you had to have completed the role quests.
Yeah, but the other nice thing is it's just like in Shadowbringers, the armor is free.
Yep.
You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to get tokens or tomes or anything like that for it.
I was able to ride along just from the dungeon drops, including the pity drop at the end. My eye level was able to keep up well enough to not need to really pause and go and worry about hunting down gear throughout, which was also really nice for the pacing.
I did not change gear until level 89.
I mean, I at least equipped the new drops.
No, I didn't.
I know you didn't.
Well, then again, most of my stuff was augmented Crystarium stuff or Crypt Lurker stuff. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So it was It was the highest eye level at the end of Shadowbringers, but
yeah, I was usually like a couple eye levels above what the minimum was, and like with the one or two drops I got, it's like, okay, that pushed me up again. So again, it never was something where I had to go back and farm or anything like that, which again was really nice for the pacing. In general, the pacing was really good. I almost never felt gated by anything.
I only encountered, I think, one spot where I ended up having to pause the main storyline and do other things in order to get enough experience to get up to level 89. Yeah. I think that was it.
But the pacing was just
other
really,
than
really
that.
well done.
I mean,
I was impressed.
Yeah, it's not like Realm Reborn or even Heaven's Word where we had to grind for 2 or 3 levels in order to get to the next point. Fate. There was a reason fate grinding was a thing in ARR.
There were a couple points where it's like, okay, I have run into a fate along the way to this next thing, so you know what? I'll go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. I'm being an adventurer. I have run across a problem. I'm going to do it. I never really had to go out of my way for it. I never felt like I was massively over-leveled and ahead. I felt like stuff was at about the right pace without me needing to think about it too much. And I am so thrilled that they were able to strike that balance there to where I didn't have to think about it and it didn't detract from me enjoying the story.
And I bet if you had either squadron buffs or free company buffs running for experience, you may not have hit that same roadblock. So I didn't use any buffs for XP. I just ran with whatever armory bonus I got plus whatever my rested XP bonus was, and like I said, it was paced beautifully. So I mean they did a great job with that. We weren't held back, but even so, I want to say that from beginning to end, I must have logged about 40 hours into Endwalker, into 6.0.
Relatedly, I want to express my sheer gratitude that the currency you get for Fates is still bi-colored gemstones, because I still got a few things to buy.
Yes. Well, I still I'm actually going to utilize, I've never actually got rank 3 in Stormblood or Shadowbringer zones. So I can now use Reaper and Sage and level them up in the first, and to get that taken care of. And if once I get one unlocked, go to the next zone if I can. Otherwise, I'll go to Zadnor until I'm ready to go to that zone, and I can just. It's going to be slower, but it's going to help me catch up with stuff and build up just a ton of gemstones, hopefully.
Oh.
But yeah, so as far as jobs and how those are running, for overall, I think they did a great job. Let's talk.
Just like a lot of the mechanics in general, like the mechanical stuff, I am really satisfied with how things are. I'm sure we'll get to hear more about it once we actually get Pandemonium, especially Pandemonium Savage and the World Firsters going at things.
Yeah, but we got a month for that.
Yeah, for the moment, talking for the slightly more casual crew.
We have 2 weeks until Savage.
Yeah, we've got 3 days until actual Pandemonium.
Yeah,
so yeah.
So a little over 2 weeks until the next one. And then let's just talk about some of the other stuff that we got. We talked a little bit about music, but overall, Soken is a goddamn genius.
Bender said that he keeps going to the final zone to like do gathering or something like that, and then he starts singing along so loudly that his boyfriend freaks out.
I can't say that I blame him.
Good.
Go there, do the thing, listen to the music, cry, repeat.
But on that one, I do like for that, and I'm not sure if it happened in any other ones, but at least on that one, it starts off as this like kind of lyricless lo-fi version, and it becomes like kind of fuller and more powerful as you go through the zone, which was a really nice effect.
Well done stuff. I guess I really want to hear I want the soundtrack. I just want to be able to listen to it whenever I want. So damn it, SE, give us the soundtrack.
Answers was mentioned earlier. There are several points where motifs from it are used. There are motifs from all of the different expansions.
Yeah,
a lot of their iconic songs.
I mean, it's taking all of that story and it's putting a final pin, a nice bow, and just tying it up and calling it done.
While at the same time, encouraging us to look back on just how far we've come.
Yeah, it's the whole journey that we're taking our time and we're reminiscing on it. We're brought back to those strong moments from Heaven's Word, from that we experienced when we were, when we thought we killed or we were framed for killing the Sultana and all that type of stuff.
Like the expansion being called Endwalker, and this idea of like continuing this slow walk towards the end, all of these experiences stretched out behind us into the distance, just like all of this stuff that we've been going through kind of like built up. I don't have the words for it.
But we just can't say them.
But everything I try feels trite, and like it doesn't really convey.
Because we're having to dance around it. We're having to dance around the actual answer. So I get what you're saying. We'll be able to explain a lot of this more in depth when we get into the spoiler cast.
Yeah. But really well done. There's a lot of them that are just really successful at evoking an emotion, like the weight of a long journey, this feel like the hope, the despair. Again, for myself, having been going on this for so long since 1.0, every time they started bringing in bits of answers, it's like, I feel this. And having had this music be such a thing for so long, and listening to it being infused with new meaning, it was so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it almost got to the point where, in A Realm Reborn, it was almost a little overdone in a lot of ways. But they kind of let it kind of do its thing and kind of hold back, they brought it back a little bit in some of the other expansions and they let it go, but they brought it when their use of it was perfect within Endwalker. It was justified and it was a great addition to
the meaning that they were the meaning that they
Yes.
were drawing out of it actually meant something more now that we've had all the experiences that brought us to this point.
Because before we were thinking about it in terms of cardinal flats.
Yeah. And like there'd always been kind of like this sort of deeper undercurrent to it, but one that wasn't necessarily as drawn out well. And again, looking back at look at everything you've done, look at all you've experienced, look at these questions that have kind of come up throughout, look at these ideas and see how they all fit together. Like it really brought this meaning to it that again was like almost cathartic for a lot of players. Like again, thinking about how this applies to your own life's journey.
And then to end our discussion on this, I want to talk a little bit about the immersive audio plugin that is available now from Embody. Do you?
Oh yes, how
use
is that?
Oh, you haven't used it?
Nope.
If you're on PC, there's a free trial for it. Please try it. It's a 2-week trial. It's just a small plugin that you download, and then you have to take a picture of your right ear. It sounds funny, but the reason they do this is because it changes how the sound waves are focused in your headphones, and it does adjust the spatial properties of where you're hearing sounds from.
So it actually like is specifically tuning how it plays a sound for your personal ear shape?
Yes.
That's so weird.
It is, but I don't know how much of it changes from based on the quality of the picture that you're actually sending to them, or but I suppose if there's major changes with how your ear is shaped, they might have to make a small change as to how it'll bounce off when it's hitting from the drivers, and
for something like this, if it's like trying to get like fairly precise positioning on, like your brain can detect absolutely tiny minute differences in the timing and positioning of sounds. Like think about how quickly sound travels between this side of your head and this side of your head.
Ravenheart in the chat, I'm sorry, this is too funny. It's because he's saying they wanted to take pictures because they have an ear fetish.
I mean, also, yes, this could be someone who's like, I will develop new audio technologies purely to help further my ear fetish.
But
extremely tiny fractions, your brain can detect those because you can tell what direction sound is coming from.
Now, it's not
so
perfect.
I could believe it.
It's not perfect. If you have super fancy headphones that have 7.1 sound audio built into them, like Atmos or something like that, or if they have active noise canceling or things like that, you want to make sure that is all turned off because it will negatively impact the plugin. Like I said, I just have standard studio headphones, the same ones that Seyrr has, and they're just regular stereo, but they're nice quality drivers, and I do notice a difference when I turn off and on the sound. And it's noticeable, and overall, I think it is actually a positive effect. So my recommendation is if you have an extra $16 or $20, because it's 20% off right now until January 3rd, I believe they extended it to. Otherwise, it's like a $20 plugin, and it's good for your account, so you're good to go. I don't know if I can put it on another computer though. I'd have to look into the terms, but I do most of my Final Fantasy playing down here anyway. So, but I do recommend it, especially if you enjoy having spatial audio, knowing where things are coming from, and you can tell when you're spinning around, and it's not just in boss fights. It is also ambient sounds, orchestrions, all that stuff. You can definitely
go sit
tell
in your lovely little house front yard with the little thing that goes donk.
Yeah, and then
what
right
is
next
that
to
thing called?
I'm at my house. Let me take a look. What is it called?
It's the thing that goes donk.
Yeah, it's Shishiodoshi.
That's the one.
I love those things.
Thing that goes donk.
Donk. I have it muted on my computer as we could maybe hear the. But no, I guess if you're on PC and you got an extra $20, do it.
If you Google thing that goes doink, it pops up on the side the Wikipedia article for Shishio Doshi. That's amazing.
Because people know it as the thing that goes donk.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I didn't actually find the name of the item in game. I remembered it because one of my white noise generator programs that I use on my my smart assistant has a mode called Shishio Doshi.
Yeah. It is remarkably soothing.
Even though you're hearing it all the time.
Yeah.
But that is our spoiler-free thoughts on Endwalker. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Oh man, I have so many spoiler-filled thoughts.
Oh, there's
so
a lot of
many.
we have a lot of things spoilery to talk about. I mean, we are probably going to end up having to split it into two. I really think
I
that.
am trying not to start belting out singing right now because some of those songs just started swelling up in my head.
Yep. Please do not start singing that song, okay? Because as much as good as it is, and how good the singer is, and I cannot remember his name again. Nick and I will probably tell me in the chat here in about 10 seconds. But well done, Square Enix. Well done. I mean, there's a reason why this is the highest rated game of 2021 on Metacritic, or it was at one point.
Man, can you imagine going back 10 years and showing this to people who were disappointed with the 1.0 launch?
I mean, like I said, I almost, if I hadn't heard about that they're rebuilding it or redoing it from scratch, I heard about it just a week.
Yeah, this.
Literally,
this thing.
Sorry, I heard about it literally a week before the beta test opened up. And I'm so glad that I did. I had a coworker at my old job who told me about it. He never played the game, but he was interested in it because he heard about, the story behind it. I was like, yeah, I remember playing that game and how crappy it was. Yeah, I'll give it a try. And 8 years later.
Yeah, it's like, hey, yeah, remember this thing that they're not even charging for because they don't feel it's good enough? Yeah, it's going to be like the game of the year for the entire thing. No, not the MMO of the year, game of the year. Life is weird.
I wish that they could, have Endwalker be listed as a game of the year contender, but unfortunately they can't because it's an expansion.
I know.
But it does. I mean, if you think of it as a sequel, it literally could be a sequel on its own. If they did this as an offline game, this could easily be its own game. If they had more, this would be what, Final Fantasy XIV-5.
If we don't count 1.0, Realm Reborn, Heaven's Word, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, yep, this would be 5.
14-5. But yeah, because they totally changed the story in 1.0. But yeah, just this is the year of Final Fantasy XIV. This is the year of Final Fantasy XIV.
Heart full of feelings.
And on that note, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating or review. It helps other people find our show and lets us know how we're doing. And if you really dig this show, you can consider subscribing to us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. For those of you listening out on the podcast, if you want to, catch up, actually see what's going on with the show, come join us live when we do the show, generally every other Saturday night. And if you support us here, you'll get access to subscriber-only emotes and badges. We actually also have follower badges or emotes that you can use. So just follow us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, and you'll have access to a few more emotes that way. Or if you want to support us in another way, you can go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio and be like our benevolent overlord, Aurori Fenrir, or our shadowy foreign investor, Tibient Salts. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to buy some things for giveaways, just make sure that we're putting on a quality product for you guys to enjoy on a regular basis. But any kind of support, whether it's likes, emails, tweets, retweets, subs, donations, whatever, it's always greatly appreciated because we love interacting with you guys and the rest of the community. If you want to check out that backlog of podcasts we've got out there, go to our website, phoenixstarradio.com. If you have suggestions, questions, comments, want to correct us on something that we screwed up, you can email us podcast@phoenixstarradio.com. And if you want to shoot us a message out on the social medias, we are on Twitter at PHXDNRadio.
I was going to say nudes, except I'm worried that someone would actually send us nudes, and that would just be all kinds of problems.
Unless those nudes are noodles.
Man, I can't believe that commercial I can believe that commercial got taken down. Anyways.
Any shout outs for you, sir?
Oh, so there are so many people that I love and appreciate. But for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and shout out one of my closest friends, Kyle Spender, who stayed up with me until 2 a.m., especially after Comcast decided to disconnect me in the middle of the pre-dungeon scene for the final dungeon, and still stayed up with me 4 hours. We started 1.0 together. We fought Nail Van Darnus and did all those things. It's been this journey that we did so long, and so the fact that he stayed up to be with me when I finished it, it was really sweet and
That's
kind.
That's goddamn beautiful, is what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, it as I say, it's one of my closest friends, and this is a road that we walked together for a decade.
The road that we walk
is lost in the flood. Now proud angels bathe in. Yeah, do not dangle that in front of me. You know I will bite on that hook. Anyways, given all that, the fact that knowing he had work the next day, which granted he was able to work from home and could mostly ignore the meetings, but still, the thought was there, staying with me as I walked that towards the end. It meant a lot, and just being able to enjoy that story with someone else who had been there, who had gone through the same thing, it made it that much more meaningful. So big shout out to you, Spender, BFF. Maybe we could figure out some way to hang out for New Year's. COVID concerns are still a thing, but we'll figure out something. Maybe we'll just get online and play a game together. So big shout out to you. I love talking with all of you about this game, about the story, about the symbolism and the mythology behind it, about random cooking things, about whatever. You can find me on Twitter at FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIVSEYRR. You can also find me on the Discord, which you can find links to on our show website, as well as Klauss frequently throwing it into the chat here. And love to talk with you all. Pay attention to messages on it as often as I can. Not too much during work, but you know how it is. And I'm always happy to chat with you about pretty much anything. Hope to hear from you all soon.
And I want to shout out my tattoo artist, Makiba, who gave me the awesome legacy tattoo. It only took a couple hours, which was kind of nice. I was expecting a little more than that, and but otherwise, I mean, beautifully done, nice and dark and vibrant, and just clean, really nice. Shout out to everybody in the Final Fantasy XIV community. I know there's a lot of you out there, lots of warriors of light that I'm thanking. But I have really, granted, I haven't been paying super close attention on social media, but for the most part, people are really being good about either labeling spoilers or just not talking about spoilers for this and letting people actually enjoy the climax that has been of this game, that's been 10 years in the making.
It's been impressive. on most of the servers I've been on, people not only use spoiler tags, but they'll even mark outside of it like level 89 MSQ or level 84 side quests or things like that. Like, to be absolutely sure that someone's not clicking it without knowing what it is they're getting for. People are being really thoughtful and considerate about it. It's impressive.
Yep. Shout out to everybody who's been using the spoiler chat in our Discord. And marking things as spoiler and being very careful to not ruin somebody's, immersion on this. So you are a goddamn wonderful community.
Yeah, it's that amazing community, Yan.
And I'm not being sarcastic when I say it. It's not a great community, by the way. In this case, I mean, you guys are a goddamn amazing community, and I thank you for allowing us to enjoy this ride at our own pace.
Yeah. Thanks for walking together towards the end with us.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to you, Seyrr, for being here, for all the hard work that you've not only put in, in the last few weeks, but just overall. You've been here since the beginning of this podcast. I mean, this is a 6+ year journey that we're on. And we're not at the end of our journey. we're continuing. To take this on, but I'm so happy that you're still here and we're able to share our love for this game, for this series, and give everybody an eargasm of information. I don't know if that was necessarily the right way
I don't
of
know
saying
that
it,
I would have quite put it that way, but you know what? We'll just go.
It was the fun way of saying it. It's a lot of joy going into your brains through your ear holes.
How did you make it worse?
Oh my!
It was bad enough, and then you somehow made it worse.
Because you love it. That's why.
No, opposite again.
I still love you guys, so thank you so much. Shout out to everybody listening to us live here at Twitch. Those of you listening on the podcast, you guys are all goddamn amazing. Thank you so much for letting us continue to do this for you guys, and happy holidays to everybody. So for my co-host Seyrr Timono, I'm Klauss and Seyrr, wishing everybody a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful year, and a happy holidays. So until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Open music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.